Don't agree? Well, you're racist. Team Kamala is furious that other big Democrat names always get brought up whenever Dems talk about who should replace Joe Biden. For example, Bill Maher is calling on California Governor Gavin Newsom to run against Donald Trump. They can't stand talk like that. Watch this.
There's a long list of Democrats: Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer. The list goes on and on. If you pick a white man over Kamala Harris, black women, I can tell you this, we're going to walk away. We're going to blow the party up. If you pick the black woman...
Where you going to walk away to, Ariva? Where you going to walk away to? You going to walk away? You ain't going to walk away to Trump?
No, this party should not in any way do anything to work around Ms. Harris. We should do everything we can to bolster her, whether it's in second place or at the top of the ticket.
Well, they may have a point. New CNN polling is giving Kamala a lifeline. She's the only candidate who comes within striking distance of Trump.
I told you that this right here was going to happen.
Kristen Welker is floating the idea that should Joe Biden decide to step down from the presidential race, that could create an avenue in which Kamala Harris, his vice president, is reintroduced to American voters who get to decide who wins the general election.
That was only about 17 seconds, and you guys obviously heard that little bit from Anna Kasparian. And of course, we've got a lot to go over, from Stephen A. Smith to Charlemagne the Fraud, or Leonard the Fraud, that's what I like to call him. But also, speaking of Stephen A. Smith, the little interview that he did with an actual DNC delegate. So, yeah. In order for the Democratic Party to go through all the type of nonsense that they're going through with Biden and the possibility of him being removed, even though I've already said that it more than likely would not occur, especially given the fact that now we can finally officially announce that Georgia, Wisconsin, and Nevada, all three, the deadlines to remove Biden from the ballot have already passed. It looks to me like that problem that I said the Democrats were going to have has officially hit. That problem, of course, being this dopey chick here.
And what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know? What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
Can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
We have been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Where we can be, unburdened by where we have been, and unburdened by where we are right now.
Now, before we talk about this, and before we talk about all the reactions, and before we go back into the past, I want to go ahead and announce something really quick. This will be the only video of the day. Also, to go on top of that, seeing how it is that the 4th of July will be on a Thursday, there will not be a video released tomorrow. And I understand that a lot of you out there will probably be on vacation this weekend. I will have content out this weekend. However, the content that I will be releasing is more along the lines of the things that I announced yesterday in the third video. Stuff like, say, a video on why it is that you shouldn't allow yourself to be chained to fate. Just kind of some reflection on a few things that I've been dealing with here, especially given the fact that I've had a surgery recently, and the fact that I will more than likely be having another one here probably in the next 2 or 3 months, and probably another one at the very end of the year. We got a lot to work around this year, and of course, it's also going to prompt some updates too, which I'll probably talk about a little bit over the weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But there will not be a video out on Thursday because I know most of you guys out there will be celebrating the 4th in some way or another. I know that I will by simply catching up on things and meeting with family, and of course, the weekend will probably bring a lot of fireworks and also alcoholic beverages that I, quite frankly, am not going to be allowed to drink. But still, at the same time, though, I figured this right here is the perfect opportunity to talk to you guys about why it is that the push for Kamala Harris has already started. And you guys are probably seeing these tweets that I'm posting here, like, for example, Michelle Obama trying to get people together, actual black donors. And of course, they're probably going to run on the whole black jobs comment that happened during the debate, which I think is completely and totally cringe, especially given the fact that there are actual people in the medical field who, for whatever reason, thought it was a good idea to stop during surgery to film little videos. You guys will see here.
Doing our black jobs. Doc, how does it feel to do a black job?
Black excellence.
What do you do in the OR?
OR nurse. OR nurse.
Brett?
Highly irresponsible, and once again, what to be expected, and why it is that Kamala Harris once again will be, let's just say, political arsenic for the Democratic Party, and would just simply lead to a much, much larger landslide for the orange sky. But we got a lot to go through, and we got a lot to talk about, and let's go ahead and get this. So, What's the problem here? Well, the problem is, once again, identity politics. I said before that the Democrats going with the whole racial thing, the whole victimhood coalition would eventually catch up to them. By the way, this is something that the Democratic Party will, in fact, be stuck with probably for the next 4 or 5 presidential cycles. I know 4 or 5 presidential cycles may be a little bit hyperbolic, but definitely the next 4 or 5 election cycles, because people will just look at them as the crowd that plays the race card. Now, I want to say this before we go any further. Let's get some further context. Back in 2008, the Democratic Party nominee was Barack Hussein Obama. Many people did not think that a black man could get elected president. It doesn't matter, of course, that they were Republican or Democrat. Most people just did not think a black man could get elected president. Obama, by the way, was mixed. His mother was white, his father was black, and not here to make fun of him or anything like that. Trust me, I can make fun of him based upon his policies. But still, at the same time, I'm the same guy who was pushing Herman Cain back in 2012. Point is this right here. Many people did not think a black man could become president. And, of course, white people did, in fact, vote for Barack Obama. We've got to remind people all the time that white people voted for Barack Obama twice, even though you're still racist, even if you did so to these people in their eyes, because obviously it's a never-ending purity spiral. Over time, however, what happened? Well, Obama's, the Democrats, 45% of the white vote in 2008, and then became 43%. No, it became 40% because Romney only got 59% of whites. Trump got 58% of whites in 2016 and then 57% of whites in 2020. Fact of the matter is, a lot of white voters, especially more of them, are getting tired of the race card. So you're probably going to see white voters vote for Trump at probably a 60 to 62% clip. By the way, if you go into NBC swing the election, guess what? That actually gives the Republican nominee a massive landslide win. Just simply saying. The point is this right here. People who are not of color are starting to get upset. This, by the way, also includes Hispanics as well, are starting to get upset with the race card constantly getting played. So what the hell do you think this right here is going to be? Well, we couldn't bypass Kamala Harris because guess what? Kamala Harris is a black woman who's qualified. Kamala Harris is a DEI hire. That is all the hell Kamala Harris is, and the vast majority of the country knows this. Hence the reason why it is Kamala Harris's approval rating and favorability rating is actually lower than Joe's. That rather obvious has not stopped people like, say, Stephen A. Smith and Leonard the Fraud from commenting on this stuff, as you guys will see.
Myself, come on now. This is utterly ridiculous. You think this is going to get it done. But I tell you what I'm starting to suspect. They don't know if Joe's going to last 4 more years. And all they care about is that he gets through Election Day and the inauguration. And then after that, who's the next in line? It's Kamala Harris. And I think that's how folks are thinking.
Now, granted, that was an old bit from Stephen A. Now, let me go ahead and kind of grace you guys with an old bit from Leonard the Fraud.
I wish people could see the Kamala Harris that you get when you're just having a conversation with her.
That is exactly why I don't believe in her. Exactly that. Man. Because I'm not questioning her credentials. Mm-hmm. I'm not questioning her ability to deliver and resonate in terms of a message. My problem is you waited too long not to. Yeah. You know, you VP, you can't do but so much. You got to flow along with what the administration asked you to do. So I blame them more than I blame her.
There was a way for her to come in, I don't want to say a heel turn, but like a turn in her, the character that we saw. Because you had Nikki Haley running around saying we should have chills up our spine.
Right.
We should be scared to death of a Kamala Harris presidency. You're only saying that because she's black. You're only saying that because she's black and she's a woman. Like, there's no other thing to fear because
people who are quite frankly 100% absolutely delusional, people who quite frankly do not understand the political game at all and do not understand that people are in fact tired of the race card constantly getting played. Look, Vivek Ramaswamy, in my opinion, was somebody that I would probably vote for president, okay? Ben Carson is somebody that I would vote for president because guess what? They typically tend to match more my worldview and my morals. A lot of these people, by the way, simply just vote for somebody based upon race or ideology. That's the wrong way to go. And I think people in this country are beginning to get tired of this, and that sort of victimhood coalition is about to shrink further and further and further, to the point to where it's going to start tearing itself up in the streets here real soon. I'm calling it now. I'm not advocating YouTube moderators. I'm just simply saying it more than likely will happen due to the causality. Nobody's advocating, so please don't hit me for that. But that right there obviously does not stop a DNC delegate from getting involved and explaining to someone like, say, Stephen A. Smith, why it is that you just can't bypass Kamala Harris, which is something that I have been saying for the better part of a year, especially to people who keep on saying they're going to replace Joe Biden with Gavin Newsom. They're not going to be replacing Joe Biden with Gavin Newsom. Multiple reasons why they won't do that. You see, if you are president of the United States and you receive campaign donations like the current administration has received, those campaign donations cannot just simply be transferred over to the next person. They have to be transferred to the next person in your administration, meaning that the money stays within the administration. Michelle Obama would not get that money. Gavin Newsom would not get that money. Gretchen Whitmer would not get that money. Only someone like, say, Kamala Harris, or maybe Pete Buttigieg would get that money, whom, by the way, they would probably use as the VP, or possibly Hillary Clinton. And, of course, they'll run on the whole ticket of, if you don't vote for me, you're anti-black and you're anti-gay. Well, I hate to tell you this, but you've kind of like run this race card thing to the point to where people just quite frankly don't care anymore. And they kind of blame you for everything going wrong. So, yeah, the reasoning behind what you're about to hear is totally 100% flawed.
Vice president, like a Gavin Newsom, governor of California, like a Hakeem Jeffries, speaker of the House. There's an abundance of candidates out there. Why are we looking at Joe Biden and saying 4 more years? That is the subject, Ariva.
Okay, and let me tell you why. I'm glad you raised those points. Here is why. Because when you all being all of you folks that want to replace Joe Biden, when you had an opportunity to pick the black woman, Kamala Harris, to pick a gay guy, Pete Buttigieg, to pick a Latino, when they were all running against Joe Biden in 2020, guess what? Kamala Harris couldn't even get to the general election because folks would not support her. They would not give money to her campaign. She had to drop out before the California primary. Y'all got selective amnesia. So don't tell me you all want Kamala Harris to be your president. When Kamala Harris ran for president, she could not get the support even of black folks in our community. The reality is you're not just electing Joe Biden. You are electing an administration. And Kamala Harris will be in that administration.
The biggest reason why it was that she was not chosen to be the Democratic Party nominee or nobody voted for her, as a matter of fact, she actually dropped out like a month before the Iowa caucuses, is because she was cringe. She was terrible. People looked into her record, and obviously there was the infamous moment where Tulsi Gabbard absolutely wrecked her on the debate stage. I would play that, by the way, but I'm saving that clip for when they formally do nominate Kamala, which I think is still very, very far off and probably won't occur, but there definitely will be a coup attempt to do so. The fact of the matter is nobody wanted Kamala to be the nominee. Nobody likes Kamala. Kamala, by the way, would be picked, and I knew she would be picked as the VP because simply she is, how do I say this, a good old-fashioned diversity hire. You guys see how it is that people at the end of the day will choose to go against diversity, equity, inclusion? They kind of sort of, how do I say, they kind of sort of had a cup of coffee with it and they realize they don't like it. So what do? They say, just get the hell away from me because diversity, equity, inclusion, guess what it does? It kills, but once again, though, at the same time, you've got people screaming once again for diversity hires to be in charge of everything, but let's continue.
You should support her. I support her. I'm her biggest fan. I'm her sister. I've been knowing her since college. I want her to be the president of the United States. But the point you're missing is you can't just skip over the existing president. Kamala Harris was the first one out on Thursday night saying support this administration. I can't change this 4 months before a national election. You want to blow up a party? You want to hand Donald Trump this election? Try to switch Joe Biden at the top of this ticket. For anybody, you think all these Democrats, 4,000 delegates that Joe Biden has won, are going to unanimously say, let's select Kamala Harris? Let's be real. Kamala Harris is a black woman. Gavin Newsom is a white man. He's the governor of my state. He was out talking on Thursday. I thought what he said was brilliant. But you've got to get 4,000 delegates to come to Chicago in August and all agree that someone other than Joe Biden should be the candidate, then go out and sell that to...
If I did not say it already, you can't just bypass Kamala Harris, but if you magically did, if you magically were able to build a massive campaign around someone like, say, Newsom or whoever, you'd probably anger the most loyal section of your base. Now, they wouldn't go vote for Trump, okay? I think that Trump's 18% with the black community is exactly what he's going to get, no more, no less. I think you'll probably have about 9 to 10% that'll choose Cornel West or possibly Jill Stein or RFK, but still at the same time, the black vote's still going to reign mostly with the Democratic Party. And also something else too, Hispanics don't really like Kamala. I understand that there's also one more thing that needs to be said. And I know this is not exactly, how do I say, commenting on anything that was just said, but I just want to go ahead and just kind of throw this out there just for further clarification. There was somebody who put up a tweet last night in my Twitter feed about what if Kamala Harris was the Democratic Party nominee and they ran on a tough on crime ticket and they had Andy Beshear, the governor of Kentucky, Democrat, as the VP. My response to that would be she'd still lose in a massive landslide because guess what? She was named the border czar, if you guys remember. So the blame simply transfers over to her. Well, Joe Biden, he's the one who let the border open. Yeah, but she was the border czar. She could have gone in there and she could have checked Joe and said, no. Oh, so you were subservient to Joe? Well, that means you're pretty weak. You see what I'm saying? There's a million different ways that you can look at the situation with Kamala, but let's continue.
Kamala Harris. But when I brought that up, last year, you and I had a discussion right here on this very platform, and we were talking about the Gavin Newsoms of the world and others. You said, I don't want to hear that. She is next in line. If Biden is not going to be there, it is her. This is what history has shown. The vice president for the serving under the administration of the incumbent, that is the next in line. That is Kamala Harris. So as we sit here today, I don't think it's right for you to say, hey, y'all didn't support her before. The fact is, that was 4 years ago. A lot has happened in 4 years. Look at Joe Biden 4 years ago and look at him now. There is slippage, Ariva. There's nothing wrong with somebody saying Kamala Harris, she's smart, she's bright, she's accomplished, she's been in the administration. We can support her.
With him, Kamala Harris, the most diverse administration in the history of this country. Y'all need to just stay the course. We got more black judges appointed under Joe Biden than anyone, even President Barack Obama.
That is not the point because we're not, once again, hold on, Ariva. We are not.
You pick a white man over Kamala Harris, black women, I can tell you this, we're going to walk away, we're going to blow the party up. If you pick the black woman.
Where you going to walk away to, Ariva? Where you going to walk away to? You going to walk away, you ain't going to walk away to Trump?
Like I said, they won't go to Trump. And it's very, very possible that clip at the very, very beginning that you saw where she was within 2 points of Trump was quite frankly manufactured. There was another poll that came out that showed Michelle Obama actually beating Trump by 11, but the problem is this here. The past 4 or 5 polls that were taken in the past month also did the exact same thing, checked on where Trump stacks up against Michelle Obama, and guess what? Trump was actually up. The fact of the matter is this right here. The Democrats don't really have a bench at all. And if Kamala Harris is the best you got, which, by the way, they can't bypass, let me say it one more time, they can't bypass, not just for ideological reasons or voter-based reasons, but also because she's the VP, even though she's a diversity hire. But also one more reason why that is the case is, like I said before, you can't just transfer cash to anybody outside the administration. It's got to go to her. Even if she's a puppet, the money's still got to go to her. You can't just bring somebody in who's not affiliated with the administration. But let's continue. And giving up on your star player in the middle of the game, I want to go ahead and point something out really quick. There's a video that was made about a few days ago by Real American Politics where he actually explained the biggest problem. They can't move on from Biden also because, and by the way, this is information that I'm getting as I keep doing more rural research on this. About 90% of the delegates are actually pledged to Biden already and can't be removed. I mean, half the delegates. By the way, it was actually the DNC situation involving Bernie Sanders that actually screwed them. As a matter of fact, the way they set up the Democratic National Convention in 2020 with the state of California being after South Carolina was actually set up for Kamala Harris to win, not Joe Biden. What I'm saying is this right here. The Democratic Party, this version of the Democratic Party is nothing but a bunch of flunkies. Now, granted, they got over with all the advantages in the world to help them out and all the chicanery, but this is not exactly a group of people that are going to get any smarter. Their IQ is not going to, increase between now and the next 8 years or now and the next 16 years. It's just not going to happen. There's a lot of crap to work out here. The fact of the matter is that these people did this to themselves. Which also brings me to Judge Jeanine Pirro, because that Fox News clip that was roughly about a minute early on, the polling data and stuff, there's also something else here, too, at play. And this segment from the 5 I thought was fascinating, but I want to play this particular part and respond to it in particular and kind of add to it a little bit more, because this is kind of the problem that the administration itself has actually had. And once again, we got to remind people of the past once again.
all day. She has a lid on her days. This woman does not deserve to be president, but I'll tell you what, or VP, which is what we heard. But here's the thing. The Biden-Harris money belongs to Kamala Harris. That money cannot be transferred. And we're talking about a lot of money. So the Democrats have to recognize that, you know, if they want to jump over Kamala, you made the rules, you live by them. You've got to go with Kamala and I don't know where they're going to go if the black women don't support.
Lazy, entitled, basically everybody in the whole world is saying the exact same thing. We don't like her. Even people who work for her do not like her. Which, believe it or not, would be further compounded by TYT of all people. So Kristen Welker, she went out there, she gave this pitch on the show that she has on Sundays to Andrea Mitchell, or whatever her name is, the MSNBC people, quite frankly. They're just so interchangeable by ideology. I have really no idea where the hell to start with. That's just kind of who these people are. I mean, as a matter of fact, it makes my head freaking hurt to even talk about. And of course, they bring up the whole idea that it's going to be a breath of fresh air if Kamala Harris becomes the nominee. Even though half the delegates already pledged to Biden and aren't going to leave, they're probably then going to look at the electability factor, which brings me to what I think is probably going to happen, which I think that there is going to be an attempted coup, and it's probably going to result in chaos at the Democratic National Convention here real soon, because I think it's in 6 weeks. But still, though, at the same time, though, TYT of all people, when TYT of all people can see the writing on the wall before you do, you got a problem.
Kristen Welker is floating the idea that should Joe Biden decide to step down from the presidential race, that could create an avenue in which Kamala Harris, his vice president, is reintroduced to American voters who get to decide who wins the general election. But Kamala Harris really isn't being seriously considered as a Biden replacement in the off chance that Biden does the right thing and step down. Right now, by the way, there's no indication that he intends to do that. His family, including Jill Biden, is urging him to stay in the race despite his horrible, terrible debate performance. Now, Politico reports that Harris's allies are frustrated with all the chatter about a possible replacement.
Quick, anytime you see Kamala Harris out there, and of course you guys obviously heard that little bit, this small bit before we landed the Politico article, I want you to know something right now. Anytime you see Kamala Harris and she basically acts like she's behind Joe, I want you to know something right now. She's literally behind Joe. She's literally behind Joe with a knife or something to take him out. She's been waiting for close to 4 years to do so. Let's just go ahead and be realistic about it. The thing that's been stopping her has been Jill Biden. The thing that's been keeping Joe Biden in the race has, of course, been Jill Biden. So you probably have to take her out first. That's one of the main reasons why I don't think that's going to occur. But like I said, I'll tell you what will happen at the DNC. But I'll also tell you what will happen after the election, too, because obviously we got what we call a cinematic party here. And, of course, that's going to be a major topic of discussion while Trump is in office in his second term. But let's continue.
Newsom, the California governor, or Michigan's governor, Gretchen Whitmer. And I want to give you some of the anonymous quotes by Harris allies to Politico. One of them says, "The fact that people keep coming back to this is so offensive to so many of us. They still don't get that the message you're saying to people, to this Democratic Party, is we prefer a white person."
Told you. Told you. This right here will also alienate white neoliberal Democrat voters too. I'm just simply saying that the race card's been played to the point to where now it's come full circle within your own ranks. I mean, it was already going that way, but still, the victimhood coalition is collapsing. But
oh, please.
So they're weaponizing race in order to make a case for Kamala Harris, despite the fact that she has her own vulnerabilities. We'll get to that in just a moment. Another Harris ally told Politico, if they think they are going to get through South Carolina bashing an effective and qualified black woman vice president, their instincts are as bad as I thought they were. I would venture to say that this Harris ally has terrible instincts. Because as we know, Kamala Harris's approval rating has been low for a long time now, mostly because of the fact that she seems super uncomfortable out in public as she's addressing the public, as she's giving speeches. And in fact, I have one of the more recent examples for you in just a moment. She put out an ad with an act.
If I was to go through here and explain every single negative to Kamala Harris, this video would be about 2 hours long. This is a woman who got to the top by sleeping with Willie Brown, the former mayor of San Francisco. He was married at the time. All kinds of stories there. She hooked up with another attorney who, by the way, was also married, an NBA player who was married. There's also the infamous photo of her and Montel Williams, who, by the way, Montel Williams, Kamala Harris, was the side piece. She's always been a side piece. She's always been used to being number two. So clearly she's not material enough to be number one. I think the American people can see that. That's all I'm saying. But what happens at the DNC and what happens afterwards? Well, here's what happens at the DNC. You're probably going to see a coup. It's probably going to be from one side of the aisle, one set of voters. They're probably going to get upset that she was not nominated. It's going to be an extremely loud minority, and it's going to lead to chaos. That chaos is going to spread. The next thing you know, the pro-Palestine crowd is probably going to get into it with the pro-Israel crowd, all the type of stuff there, and progressives are ultimately going to lead. However, Biden will still remain the nominee. He'll be the nominee of basically a dead party, and his campaign will continue to fall apart more and more and more as the year continues. I believe it'll be a landslide. I believe it will be seeing a major landslide for the first time since the 1980s without an actual viable third party, because even though Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will take away some votes, he won't be able to do what Ross Perot did. Also, to go on top of this, that right there leaves what happens afterwards. You see, this particular party is a party that gets a lot of pop culture credential, meaning that a lot of movies are made about these people. Even when they do movies on, say, Republican politicians, they still do everything they can to paint them in a negative light. Still, at the same time, it's what you call the audience. It's the Democrat audience watches these types of movies, political theater. People like Rob Reiner who make films like The American President and, of course, CNN and their documentaries and crap like that. That's probably what you're going to see is exactly how it was that Joe Biden screwed the current crop of Democrats for the future. And, of course, they're also going to blame progressives for all their problems. And they're also going to blame the melanized crowd, too. Just wait and see. With that right there being said, guys, you tell me what you think. You tell me how you feel about this. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share the video. Please sign off. I'd love to hear what you guys have got to say. The next video that will come out will probably come out on Friday. I hope you guys have a happy 4th of July. I understand this being done on a week. This has been done on a weekday. But still, though, be safe. Have a good weekend. I know some people are probably enjoying the fact that they get an additional day this weekend. But still, have fun with that. I'll be back on Friday, and I'll see you guys later.